And a lot of you who are well-to-do and intelligent and understand what's happening, you're going to have to get off the fence and speak to your neighbors and call into talk radio and start websites and call Congress and call the ADL and just let them know that we know what they're doing, and pressure national talk show hosts like Limbaugh and Savage, who are now saying the government may stage terror. They're both now coming out in the open. And that's because there's another power structure that isn't the top power structure, but is part of it, who now realizes they're going to get their throats slit in this as well. No one is safe, including top-level elitists, because after they're done mopping up America, in every case, tyranny works the same. The most dangerous group to be in is an upper echelon elitist, because you know where the bodies are buried. You know how the system works. If they're successful setting this up, I would say half of the superclass will be killed. And we're going down this road. You know, the Rothschilds out of England funded Hitler and Stalin and the West, and the French Rothschild family were almost all killed by Hitler. And that's on record. They were killed. And I've seen the daughter of Lord Rothschild out of France talk about it on Charlie Rose once, but I'd already read about it in history books. What they're conjuring, what they're building, what they have unleashed, they have released the Kraken. This is an uncontrollable force of evil because they put so many evil, reprobate, wicked people into positions in corporate areas, government areas, law enforcement areas, that it is an incredibly dangerous animal that they released. And no one is safe from this. I mean, this is so diabolical. Now, I want to get into what they are setting up now on the financial end, because that's the heart of it, the capstone of this system. And then Dick Morris, Bill Clinton personally orchestrated the 93 Waco, Texas tragedy. I want to hurry through this now. But you have been warned. You have been warned, and I have risked my life and my name and prison to bring you this information. And I've taken more COINTELPRO and mainstream media and government attacks than anybody in recent memory. And that's the proof of what we're saying is right. But you can go look at all of this for yourself. I mean, yesterday I read the entire London Guardian article that is a deceptive piece saying, boy, the bankers are in trouble. This is really going to bring the big banks in line. Then you read the actual G20 document. The biggest central banks set it up to shut down their competition and to put value-added taxes on all financial transactions of individuals, small banks, credit unions, everything. And it pays the money to a global government-level system that Gordon Brown, we played the clips here, has called a global governance constitution between the banks. And again, you can also go read an article written by Eric Sandberg, President and CEO of Texas Bankers Association. I was actually this morning looking for a Texas bank to put our business capital in, and I was finding out what had the highest ratings. And without even, because I'd separately looked for regional bank groups pointing out, because I read the G20 plan and what Obama's doing, and it's meant to shut down and take over all their competition, because these banks don't get to create derivatives. Your healthy regional and even small town banks, they're not allowed to play in that game. Not just that they're moral, a lot of them aren't, but they're not allowed. Only the big globalists are allowed. That's how they can buy everything up. But now they're coming in to take them over. And so I'd separately found articles with different banking associations saying this, but separately looking for the highest-rated Texas bank, found out Prosperity is probably one of the better ones. But doing that, I came across this by the president of the Texas Bankers Association, too politically connected to fail. And he says this is a takeover by fat cat bankers of your local bank. And he goes into how it's a giant scam. I mean, you should go read it. This is not Alex Jones. This is Texas has more healthy banks, the biggest banks in the union, bigger than California. They're bankrupt. Texas has the best banks in the union. And that's Forbes and Barron's. And here's the head of the association telling you what I'm telling you, okay? So you should go read this editorial by the president and CEO of the Texas Bankers Association. I want to get him on next week if he'll do it. I want to get him on. I mean, we've got to ring the alarm bell here. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, you read this G20 plan that's in the Guardian article we linked to yesterday, and you read the quote, oh, Obama's getting tough on the banks that financed him, and it is just the opposite of what they're saying. Anything you get, government health care, a banker bailout, whatever it is, it's going to be a ripoff by the private central banks that are waging war on the real market. Now, we have two articles that detail this at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com by Paul Joseph Watson and Steve Watson. And every line, every claim we make is linked to government documents or mainstream news with it hidden in plain view. Okay? Because they'll tell you in the London Guardian, oh, it's a great idea, it'll get the bad bankers. And it says, gives them unlimited power, selective enforcement over all small banks, and pays the money directly to them. Oh, that will sure show them. That's like giving Jeffrey Dahmer 10 more teenagers to torture to death. I'm sure he'll hate it. IMF's global taxes can only be enforced through global government. And then it goes through Gordon Brown saying it's global government that they are establishing and that it will be run by private central banks. Latest proposals, part of ongoing centralization into new economic world order. That's their term for it. As you have no doubt read in the headlines today, the IMF has proposed levying 2 global taxes on the world's banks to make sure those greedy guys don't get us in too much trouble again. If that sounds dubious, it is, because in reality, what's being proposed and has been falling into place for some time is a framework of unelected global authority with powers above and beyond those of sovereign governments run by the private central banks. And then it goes into all the VAT, the financial VAT, on your electronic money transfers, on everything, and total enforcement power at the national and UN level over your local banks. And so it goes into it in detail. And then another important article, bankers prepare to assault Americans with VAT transaction tax. And then we have Obama here in the Associated Press today. Obama suggests value-added tax may be an option. And separately in the Senate, they have the carbon tax that's a VAT on all human activity. But the most important article to read to understand the lies is they'll tell you a lie, but then admit what they're doing right next to it. And it says, Gordon Brown claims credit for International Monetary Plan to impose tough levy on biggest banks, profits say. Then later it says it isn't on the biggest banks. It's selectively enforced. It's secretive how it's done, and it's a value-added tax. Let me read this to you. On all financial institutions, not just banks, and transactions. So, this will really show the big central banks. This will sure teach them. All right, final segment of the radio broadcast.
Every morning at the mine,
Dick Morris, Bill Clinton personally orchestrated the 1993 Waco, Texas tragedy. Tomorrow I'm going to spend more time on this. It's such a big issue, such a big story. It came out in the congressional hearings on Waco that Clinton was personally running it. He wanted to demonize the Patriot movement, kind of kick off a domestic purge against the American people. And other sources had reported that Janet Reno had blackmailed, because this isn't the first time we've heard this, had blackmailed Clinton when he wasn't going to reappoint her. She was so unpopular that she would, quote, tell the truth about Waco. That Special Forces troops went in, placed a bomb on top of the church records area, the concrete area, killed the kids inside, shot people when they were exiting. We have the flare footage from the Army of them doing it. And they said, those flashes on the end of troops' guns, that's not what you think it is. On and on and on. Now, this is very complex, what Dick Morris did. He's saying, be careful, Clinton, saying that conservatives are going to be responsible for another Oklahoma City. Be careful. And then he says, I don't know what it was Reno was threatening him with. Of course, that's not true. We all know. It came out here and there. You can put it together. Very clear. He's not going as far as Limbaugh or Savage, saying the government will stage terror attacks and blame it on us. Oklahoma City, too. So, again, I'm not the only one saying this now. Anybody who's smart can see it, or even common sense, not even smart anymore. Dick Morris is saying, watch it, buddy. Watch it. Don't try to blame something on us. And then he throws out a little secret that Bill Clinton told him. Remember, he was his chief advisor. He was the Karl Rove to Clinton, that Janet Reno was blackmailing him.